everyone. Good morning. Hi, Aaron. I'm so excited to welcome Aaron here today. As you arrive, let us know. We're going to get Aaron in here. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, my friend. Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
I can. You look super radiant this morning.
I was in the dream realm when I woke up this morning. I feel like I've only recently re-landed back in this realm.
Well, I haven't been able to sleep much, actually. It's been the most interesting experience, like the last about a month or so, I'd say. I've been sleeping in my office, like this pull and this connection to find some sort of safety as I've been navigating so many shifts that I've just naturally gravitated to my office. And last night was the first night that God has blessed me with a full night of rest. And so I'm really feeling nourished and excited to share some time with you today.
Good. I'm so glad to hear that. And likewise, this has been, I think it was around this time last year that we maybe first connected, and then just the space was opened of this potential conversation, and then us just both staying tuned on what it was meant to be.
And when this year has been unbelievably purifying, and I genuinely don't feel that the version of me that could have had this conversation earlier this year was really prepared and purified enough with a humbled spirit to be able to say that I was ready for this conversation and the potency of being able to share this with you. So I'm excited. Welcome to Aaron's audience. If this is the first time I've ever been able to connect with you, I'm truly honored and privileged, and genuinely my audience, I'm really excited that you get to spend some time with Aaron today, because so many paths we could have taken in terms of conversation, and today just feels like the right time to deepen really the theme about leadership and the shifts that are being asked of us moving into 2023.
Yes, and just hello to everybody who's here. Thank you so much for tuning in, for answering however you felt the call to be here to hear us in conversation, and specifically, as we're approaching these last few days of this Gregorian calendar year, this conversation about how things are changing and what it means to really be approaching 2023 in a new way, as new as we can, as we're still in this ongoing cyclical, really deep refinement and excavation. And a lot of what I think we'll end up talking about today, I resonate, Victoria, with what you said of, like, we could have had a version of this conversation a couple of months ago, in April, in February, right? Because I've had my finger on the pulse of a lot of what I think we're going to talk about today for a while, but I've been in my own experience of it, and this refinement and this deepening that now makes this a really authentic moment to be speaking about it. Well, things are shifting behind the scenes here.
Has to. I really appreciate the timing of this, because if you know anything about human design, I'm a 3/5, and so the number 3 means that I learn a lot through failure. And this was a year of me really diving into other environments and playing out this like shape-shifting personality, believing that I was a part of certain environments that were not actually authentically connected to the heart of my core and the truth of my true beat. And then as of really eclipse season, I'd say it started in August, but the real shift happened towards that final quarter of 2022. Everything collapsed at once, and I was in this landscape of pure void. And in that moment, I realized that I was participating in other timelines, other roles, other truths that were not actually authentic to the depth of why we're doing what we're doing, which is just to fucking serve. And so I feel humbled in my capacity to share that I followed an inauthentic path this year, to be able to, from experience, be able to address what I am at the seat that I am now. And I think that's why the timing of this is so ripe, because I sucked myself out of this vacuum of inauthenticity, and now it's presented us into this beautiful time and space here right now.
Wow, I have full body chills, and I really deeply honor you for speaking that, within this theme of leadership and what it means to lead and to serve, like that right there, like being able to say, yo, like I ended up in spaces that were not part of my highest timeline. I ended up in spaces that were matched to a wound or to just a program that isn't actually in resonance with my heart. It's very, very powerful. And in my own way, this last year has been an extraction from similar places where my heart felt a certain level of resonance, or the mind was like, this is correct for my mission and this is what you need to do. And, everybody's on the same page here, right? Question mark. And God just bringing that mirror of like these deeper and deeper places where I needed to take that medicine of like living my values on just more and more and more of a nuanced level. And I feel for a lot of us, it's like there's these subconscious places where we felt like we had to compromise. It's like all of these different institutions. It's like the compromise of going to the grocery store instead of to the farm, the compromise of turning on a light bulb that is not fueled by the energy of the sun, right? All of these different, there's so many different layers of it. And we've been very courageously peeling back so many of those layers for so many years, right? But I feel like this year there's been a way deeper level, particularly on the template of what it means to be seen, to get your message out there, to be of service, to be a leader. There's a lot that's been
Absolutely. I have been communicating with a lot of people as my business is more structured in a company essence. And there's a lot of conversation about big money and big wealth and big dreams and big this and big that and big this and big that, that I have had the honor and the privilege of sitting with a lot of people, including my inner child, that is sitting at the end of this year with a lot of grief about investments that they made, decisions that they made at certain choice points of like, am I following my organic template, or am I going to go this way because I think it's really shiny and nice and it sounds nice on paper? And now they're looking back in hindsight with a lot of grief through this excavation and this purification process that has really cleared all of this distortion, that has now illuminated where steps were taken that were inauthentic, where steps were taken that were not completely organic to the heart. And it is so important to acknowledge that grief that we feel for the certain decisions that we've made when we've made them. There's also an importance to acknowledge the potential of who we are becoming because of this and because of the decisions that we've made. But there's also a really strong calling to appreciate everything that you are here right now a result of. And so I feel that there's like this splitting where a lot of us are focused either on the things we could have done differently, if we would have done them differently, what it would have looked like. And also this strong emphasis of like, okay, well, now that I have eradicated all of that, what do I want to add on this year? What was subtracted and what was added, as opposed to like, what is this equaling in my body right now? Like what, yes, things could have been different this year in terms of the way I lead, the way I invested, the decisions I would have made. And yeah, maybe I would, and planning to align myself differently moving forward. But like, what about right now? Thank you, God, for purifying the path and showing me the clearest, even if I'm like 11 on the clock, like I don't know where to go from here. Like, I don't know what this means. How can we have this gratitude for what we've become this year, even though I really do feel that this has been the year of fire, like the year of purification over and over and over to annihilation.
Obliteration has been a big word.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the holy fire, right? In my with my beloved Christina, there's a there's a real deep awareness of the fire of divine love, and that just the purifying force. And she said to me so many times, like, when the fire comes through, only what is true will remain.
Mm.
And there's so much peace in that.
If there is no expectation and we can have the bravery to let go of control, I truly feel that this seat that many of us are sitting in is the most sovereign seat we've ever sat in before, and hopefully some of the most humbled. This has been a year of deep humbling, and yeah, fire of divine love. Love that. And so for you, what has this experience been like for you, especially in this kind of tail end of the year? Like, what has this meant for you as somebody who's of service to God, somebody who has a deep impact that wants to spread their message? What does this look like for you?
It's a beautiful question. And I love what you said about the acceptance of where we are and not like continually scrambling the pieces on the board of like, okay, well, that was fucked up, so clear that. Okay, and then in that place, I need to plant this, and this should have been planted before because, oh my God, I can't believe I planted that. And like
Yeah.
the like the energy of like the scarcity and sort of like, as I don't know if you said it, but within the grief, I felt that theme of guilt also, and that feeling, just our hearts that are like, oh my God, humanity's suffering, the planet's so much. And like, I want to do the right thing, right? I want to be of maximum service. And so that push to keep going. And a lot of what I've been working with within myself and with God for really for years is this theme of how we do the work is the work. So actually, as I was reflecting before we got on, I found myself writing like, where are distorted ends defying fear-based means? Where are we still like, okay, well, this is like not the way I would want to do it, but I really need this thing, so I'm going to do it this way. And on a very deep meta level, the way that we justify just going against ourselves, going against life, going against God in service of the mission, pushing ourselves, right? That like, and also making these compromises of, well, this isn't how I would want to be doing it. Like, if I could control everything, this isn't how I would want to be doing it. Like, this is the only option available to me. So I'm going to do my in this, like that kind of negotiation that we do. And I feel like this whole year for me has been a really deep, like God just taking me a couple layers deeper on all the places that like all the realms that I've been playing in, including social media, including thing where it was like, this isn't where I really want to be, but where I need to be for the things to be done for the mission. And this, it's felt like a time of like another layer of pausing, and really like the image I keep getting, and I'm getting this, like, this has been my experience, but really all the leaders that I work with, and I'm just feeling all the beautiful souls who are tuning in right now, has been like a field. All these things planted, and then getting clear on what needs to be weeded, and the courage to say, you know, I don't want to grow this again. I don't want this again. And then having to hold the void of what is going to get planted, or even holding the void when you're like, I know what's going to get planted. There's going to be these trees over there and this and this and this. And I've got this vision and I'm so excited, but there's still this, like, this holy void of the purification, and in this moment of like the courage to let go of the old, and then having to, even if like God swaps into new real quick, still a moment where you're not holding anything. And I would say that for me, there's been a lot of experiential stretching into being okay, not immediately having a replacement, because even that immediately having a replacement, immediately knowing what's happening next, is part of this old consumptive
Mm,
instinct external validation system that we're leaving.
mm,
So a lot of layers in what I just said, but I'll leave folks with that image of like the status of the plot of the land of your life that you've been, and that space where like the soil needs a moment to breathe before we anchor something completely different in it. And that's where I've been.
mm. So much resonance with that, and experiencing that in my life currently, and this constant humbling moment every time I try to recreate that pattern. Okay, I'm going to plan ahead. Okay, yeah, so we don't know what's coming for the next few months. We know God wants us to relocate, so let's just plant some seeds over there. And then it just, in an instant, completely gets wiped out. Like, there is no spaciousness to continue to move forward, one, from a lack of trust, which then comes from the need to control. And so I have felt this deep somatic healing to my relationship with the unknown. And instead of keeping it in this frequency of anxiety, I'm practicing dropping it into the body in wonder instead of anxiety. Like, how often can I take the anxiety and turn it into the wonderment of possibility, as opposed to the anxiety about time and space? How can I take that void that immediately attaches to the fear of the future and flip it into the wonder of the present and what can be created from this moment of intentionally allowing that space to essentially reveal whatever it wants to reveal about what I believe to be safety, what I believe to be security, what I believe to be what's coming. And in that, it has so much information every time that I just like let myself not try to control it. It purifies so much in its wake, because I'm completely eyes closed, like in the same way we meditate. When our eyes are closed, all our senses kick in. In the night, in the darkness, is when we start to really see. And I feel that similarly what the end of 2022 is really granted a lot of us. Like, I don't have to see it in order to feel it. Can I let myself keep creating that inner sense of knowing that I don't always have to try to jump on it because I'm afraid that it won't work out?
So powerful. I just, as you were speaking, I heard the phrase, like, if we want to create the new, we have to create it in a new way. And it
Yes.
reminds me, actually, one of my favorite Bible verses is when God says, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. It's spring."
Mm,
And then it's about like a spring coming out of the desert. And any of us, and I'd love to hear from folks who are tuning in, if this resonates, like, we feel this call of like, there's a better way to do things. Like, the world is supposed to be different. Like, it's supposed to feel more genuine, more real, more connected, more respect and reciprocity, more peaceful. And we feel this call to build something new. We're like, okay, these systems are messed up. This way of doing things is messed up. Like, we're gonna, new earth, here we come. Let's go. And in my experience, it's just been this deepening of, yes, owning the power of my vision, owning what I've been uniquely given to see, and there's some beautiful things that I've been carrying with me for a long time, but at the same time, knowing that there's no way that I can, from this vantage point, plot my way
yeah.
to like liberation of this realm in a completely different way of being. Like, that is God breathing that through
Mm,
me. And the scariness of when you're just sort of like in that place of formlessness and you don't know what's coming, and it's very 3D. It's like, how will that bill get paid? How
Mm.
that relationship go? Like, where will I get my food? Like, fundamental survival needs are very active for a lot of people right now. But in those moments where we're aware of those questions, but we're not immediately scrambling to answer them in the way that we can within our current limited
Yep.
view. It's like there's a lot of fear. There can be a lot of fear there, but there's all
Mm-hmm.
of what you said about like flipping the anxiety to wonder.
Mm.
Genuinely love the somatic experience of when I feel completely at my wit's end, like full breakdown, like I don't know what's coming, because I actually know that when I'm at that level, that's where God can fully move through me. I'm like, there's not even a shred of me that is trying to figure this out, which means that something way beyond my comprehension is being created. And that's the new way. Like, that is how we're going to remake structures of our world, ways of being in our relationships. It's like I just see it's like a multidimensional metaphor about like opening up channels so that the water can actually flow
Yeah.
through. Um, and all those of us, not all of us have chosen this path, but those of us who have, who are like, put me in, I want to do this. I want to be part of the remaking of, the anchoring of heaven on earth, however you think about it. We're I just heard the phrase basic training. Like, we're in some really fundamental rewire the way that we move.
Mm-hmm. I brought through a message about 2023 that was about, instead of what has felt like a lot of this year being really activating by the sun, like a lot of energy that was connected to our solar fire, like our solar plexus, how we move, how we direct our energy, how we purify our relationship with control, what we believe true sovereign self-worth feels like, is like, identifies like, exists like. 2023 feels like we're turning up the water, where we're more now connected to the lunar cycles than we are just the solar energy, where now it feels more like we are connected to the rhythm of our bodies, of the intelligence of our bodies, of our subconscious mind now taking, I feel like, almost like a back seat, where it's not just this, it's constant habitual way of existing, and instead we're now being kind of guided by our senses body, as opposed to like only the mental body. And it really does feel that this energy that we're shifting into is more about following the organic rhythm that isn't all about constant production, filling in the void, constantly trying to like, oh, there's a hole here, let me just dig that over so nobody knows that there's a hole there. Like, really having the capacity and the trust in ourselves and our bodies to go deeper and go deeper and go deeper into it. Now, this has been, I've explained a little bit to you, like, this has been a really heavy year for my health. And I believe that health is, and the compromising of health is genuinely one of the most humbling experiences that we can have, because it forces you to be alive when you feel like you're confronting death in some way, shape, or form. When you are having a physical response in your body to some sort of disease, it literally forces you into consciousness. And I feel that 2023, it came through as the Trinity diet of 2023, meaning it feels like we are going through a spiritual car wash right now. Like you said, basic training, purifying, 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 to prepare us for this Trinity diet, where it's like, mind, body, spirit, what is truly organic and aligned for me at any given time and space and place? And can I learn how to dance with that, as opposed to my way, my way, my way, my way? It's like, okay, God says this way. Okay, that's the way. So it really feels that if we've allowed ourselves permission to pause, permission to exhale, and permission to be humbled, truly humbled, then 2023, I feel this like exchange of energy where a lot of people who are focused on monetary, instant, now or never gratification is almost like I'm seeing like passing the baton to those who have been maybe behind the scenes working, clearing, showing up, praying, clearing, detoxifying, passing the baton to those souls who are ready to step up into this next level of leadership. Unfortunately, because some of these souls here have unfortunately traumatized and caused harm to some of these other souls over here who just deeply wanted to be of service, but kind of got caught, myself included, in this like inverted desire, obtainment. And so now these people are going to be looking more towards heart-centered leaders who genuinely just want to help souls find their heaven on earth. So it feels like there's going to be an exchange of power, and we see this collectively. I think a lot of us have been waiting for the shoe to drop. It's like, are they done yet? Are they done their charade? Is the government done? Are we ready for this next shift? Like, and in that, it's brought us to a lot of healing, because we can't hate, we can't judge, we can't resent the beauty of all aspects of life, including the things that we don't necessarily resonate or agree with. But I think this exchange of power, from it being connected to the ego versus is it being connected to God, is shifting because of the work that we've done at the tail end of 2022.
Just that for a second, feeling all the different layers here, and I agree. It's like there's a model of leadership that has been based on a sort of cult of influence,
Yep.
and like being the one who knows and the one who has the formula and the one who can give you the keys to the kingdom. And if we were to go a couple layers deeper on that, that is about the difference between manufacturing a desired reality within this, call it the matrix, construct of reality, versus experience of like really bringing God into your being and fully anchoring that heaven on earth energy within yourself and creating in a way that is in this world but not of this world, and where, like, on a deep felt soul level sense, there's an understanding of being able to build a castle in the sky in this realm is not the ultimate source of the safety and the salvation and the stability that you want. And I do see a lot of holographic castles in the sky depixelating right now. To be a bit more 3D about it for a second, like, I do see a lot of people who've been like feeling that leadership call for a long time, right? And who've like maybe been telling themselves a story like, I'm just not good at being in business, or like I've got a block around being seen on social media, or like they're still in what some people would say is like an earlier spot in their mission, and they haven't built a personal brand. They haven't built a lot in the 3D in a traditionally validated way. And what I see in my work is that there's a lot of people, like I had a client this year where we talked a lot about like how what he was calling procrastination was actually like deep divine protection from building inorganic things. Yes, some of us like need training in how to run a business. Some of us are working through the fear of the shame and just like the obliteration feeling of being seen and speaking our truth. And maybe that is why you're not posting on social media. Maybe you're also not posting on social media because something in you hasn't yet felt that actually a template for leadership that doesn't feel like you're killing off an essential part of yourself. And so those beings who've been kind of waiting in the wings, and I feel that there's like you said, there's people who've been cultivating a certain level of purity by not participating, and in the humility that has continued to be anchored over the last few years, like when I think about 2023, it's like I've got my ideas about what might happen, and I'm also understanding, like I'm still seeing the places where we, myself included, sort of expect like, okay, really intense, and now we're gonna be like we're gonna be moving and grooving again, and,
Yes.
and like where we're, I'm genuinely very curious to see how, like how 2023 is going to be paced.
Yep.
And what we're actually going to be called to create. Because something my love Christina and I always talk about is like God's timing is both faster and slower than we expect. And like I've had eons long waits with God, and then I've had other moments that feel like I like woke up in a foreign country with my shirt on backwards, like just like completely transported to a new reality, and it's like get with the fucking program, like
Yep.
the reality now, you did pray for it and you were open to it, so like go. So there's, I think we're in a deep process around what it's like to co-create with God.
It brought me back to what you said earlier on about really like sacrifice and like this feeling of, well, if that's what success looks like, and they're working like this and they're only focused on this, and all it is about mass production, then that doesn't feel organic and true for me. I think a lot of us starseeds and light workers still feel this this fear that the sacrifice has to come in order to be able to obtain and align and become in congruence with our true mission. And I personally have always felt behind in my mission. No matter what comes in my path, I always feel like I'm more ahead than I've ever been and more behind than I've ever been. And I think a lot of light workers feel that. It's like this pressure, this internalized pressure to fulfill this mission, when in truth, it's created in the now moment that we choose heaven in the body now and now and now and now. So that pressure is completely self-imposed. And when I remind myself of that, and I really trust the vision that I'm given and the timing of how it's meant to play out, suddenly there's not this pulse to perform in someone else's direction. I am naturally a Capricorn, and I have a very naturally grounded work ethic. And it took me a long time to accept that and love that. It always felt like it's hard for people to show up. It's so easy for me. I actually find it's harder to not show up than it is for me to show up. And for a lot of other starseeds, I know that they feel this pressure to try to match that, or to try to get to that, to try to get to this level in order to be successful, in order to say that they're fulfilling the thing, when really that might not be their organic truth. And this is bringing me back to this message that I had about a highway. So let's say there are three lanes on a highway. The right lane, you usually go slower. It's usually for transport trucks and folks that desire to go slower. The middle lane is more like, I'm good here. You know, I could go to the left, I could go to the right, but I'm in the vibe. And then the left lane is usually the fast lane. But they're all going in the same direction. And the best part is, if you're in the left lane, you can at any time decide that it feels more authentic and true to your natural aligned pulse in this now moment to move to the right lane. And similarly, you can decide at any time based on what you're feeling, what feels most safe for you. But the truth is, we're all going in the same direction. And if we understand that sacrifice was never required, I think this is like really distorted Christ programming, that we have to die for something in order to say that we survived for something. And I don't think that that's necessarily a truth that we have to continue to carry with us moving forward, that we don't have to sacrifice our mind, body, spirit, well-being in order to fulfill what God is is illuminating and crystallizing and bringing forth to us. I do
Yeah.
feel a lot of us feel behind.
Oh,
And that like creates this inorganic pulse.
I feel that's something I've said in most of to most of the people I've ever worked with is like, I bet you feel both behind and light years ahead at the same time. And I catch a bind that where it's like, well, both of these, like, yes, everything can be true, but like when we're seeing those polar opposites, right, it sort of like cracks a little bit and allows us to come to that middle place of also just honoring these different aspects of self that feel both really ahead and really behind. And there's a lot of layers if we go past life and things like that, in terms of like that urgency of feeling other momentums, other energies on the planet, like wanting to have this really be a lifetime where we fully come into divine union and we experience that true liberation from the inversions of this realm. So there is this sense of like, I can't stay where I am, but also I can't sprint in the energy that I've been in to get where I'm going. It's like, I got to move fast, but I also got to get off this other treadmill. And the world also has a different pace.
Yep.
And I think that about sacrifice is really interesting. When I said that word, it really stood out. I think a lot about that. I think a lot about like what a lot of people would call deals with the devil, which sometimes are very explicit. Sign this contract, like you are now in a contractual relationship where you're going to get what you need in the construct of this realm, but also all these smaller ways that it sort of fractals out to, okay, well, I'm just going to push this part of myself to the side to get right 9 to 5 jobs. Like, I'm just going to sacrifice my need for like sunshine and air and, move my body. And I'm just going to sit in this cubicle because it's going to let me rent this, put food on the table. So there's all these inorganic sacrifices and compromises. And like you said, like these sort of inverted order program. And I can truly only speak to my experience and then potentially refer to the experiences of other people that I've read or heard about. Walking with God does require dying to who you were and dying to the fallen architecture of this realm to be reborn. And there's a lot of us are grappling on that next threshold of death. And this is something that my love Christina teaches about in her teachings of the new myth, which is this transformational cycle of change. We're taking a group on this in a couple of weeks. And the first threshold of this cycle of change is death, where you're like, how have I been identified? How have I been showing up? What is the construct of my world? And what needs to literally burn in the fire of divine love, because it is completely inorganic and something new is wanting to come through. And so I hear, like, I think we're in resonance here, because it's like, we don't need to sacrifice in this way of like, I have to like kill off actually essential parts of me, or I suffer needlessly on my path. And cut to the CCTV footage of like me in the fetal position, freaking out. I can't even count how many times, like feeling the fire move and crashing it out emotionally, physically, on every level, because there's ways of being, ways that we've identified that are not fundamentally true. And there's, like, if we take it 3D, right, there's relationships, there's jobs, there's places, there's models, grocery stores, I don't know, there's many layers of what we are called to let go of. And in the Bible, Jesus talks about, like, basically, in order to follow me, you, like, I think some of the translations say like you have to hate your family, but it's basically like you have to like be willing to let go of the world that you've known. And that is a death, but it's a death that doesn't needlessly loop you in constant suffering. It's a death where you wake up, you know, it's like the shamanic rebirth of you walk outside after a dark night of the soul and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit deeper,
Mm-hmm.
see things a little bit clearer.
Hmm. Isn't the key to death really accept it? In order to,
And you just cut out for a brief moment.
isn't the key to become free around death is within accepting death?
Yeah.
Both the literal sense of like, you can't outrun the fact that we're all going to die, and that's only one dimensional understanding of our existence as spirits. But the acceptance of death is what creates the space for the purification that's necessary to occur. It's when we're like resisting, but I need this, but the job, but the relationship, and then further than that, but this identity and this behavior, I don't know who I am without it.
Yeah.
It's the acceptance. Now, we don't have to love something in order to accept it. I don't know anybody who's like, I love laying on the floor, bawling my eyes out, praying for a way out of this experiential misery I'm in. And yet I believe the goal is to find and feel that this is love. This is just another expression of love. I love you so much. This has to remove. You've asked for this.
A kid like throw something up that they ate that is not good for them. It's like this, but like drop it, you know, like, and I tried to smack it out of your hand before you ate it, and you owed me and your intuition, and so now like we're gonna have it's in there.
Yep.
Get it out, and like I don't experientially in the moment love the like true holy shit, like God deliver me from this hell moment, and come to have a sort of affection for and appreciation for those moments, like I said before, because you can't really fake those moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like you can kind of fake cry and be like, oh, I'm purging a little bit and I know some stuff's got to move, but like those real cathartic moments, you know, those are very organic. And so I know that when that has happened, something in me has let go enough.
Yep.
that the full purge can come through, so that there's space for what I've been asking for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And hasn't that really just been 2022 in a bow? It's reminding me of this quote by Pema Chodron that says something along the lines of, we have to continue to annihilate ourselves over and over so that which is indestructible in us can be found. And I pray that every person who is receiving this feels that sense of so much around me has destroyed, and yet there is this peace that I feel radiating in my being, like nothing that I can translate through a screen, like nothing I can translate to try to help it make sense for somebody else. It's not something that can be bought. It's not something that can be taught. It's something that has to be chosen and accepted and found. Like, it's like the sunglasses that you're looking for all around the house. Where are my glasses? That's what has really been a lot of these shifts for people. Like, where are my glasses? I can't see without my glasses, just to find out that you're wearing them. Like, they're just on the top of your head. Oh my God, God was always here. I was just looking out there.
Completely. It's that phrase, a peace that surpasses understanding.
Mm.
And that quote, I love that quote. It reminded me, one of my like the first quotes I clung to as a young person, as a teenager, when I had one of those like maximum intensity karmic family experiences. So went through a lot of darkness and moved through a lot as a young person. And one of the quotes that really helped me was from Albert Camus, who was an existentialist, a French existentialist who kind of broke from the other existentialists who became more and more like nihilistic and like nothing is real and nothing has any meaning. He became more and more like heart-centered as his life went on, and really deepened into like his desire to see humanity as good, and to feel like redemption was possible in life. And he said, in the depths of winter, I found within me that there was an invincible summer. World War II. And was in that. I mean, we're in the same loop in the simulation again of those similar energies. And so
Yep.
that's a sort of side note, but I always find it very powerful when we can really feel people who live through a similar energy, and to receive the medicine that helped them. And that quote to me gives that same image of like the light that's just really small. It's there. And yeah.
Yep. It is. It never wavers. There are no conditions to it. It's not like, look at me, I showed up online today. Can you give me a gold star? It's like, I see you near and far from the perfection that you are always. There's no condition to whether or not this flame that is in each and every single one of us burns. It doesn't burn brighter for some and another for another. It's within each and every single one of us, and all we have to do is be in it enough to receive it. So I think this is really like, we were kind of open to like, I don't know how this is going to go. We have a theme. So are you feeling that there's something else you'd like to address before maybe I'm feeling called to maybe support like some tips or tricks that you feel might be beneficial moving into 2023? Is there anything else that feels alive for you?
Ah, what a beautiful journey this has been so far. And I'm loving just seeing the folks who are here with us and are resonating and feeling this. There are actually 2 points that were coming up that I just felt called to bring one additional layer on. The first is just giving anyone who needs it the permission to like take this entire conversation out of the leadership construct, where leadership means being on Instagram, having a brand, having a company, being a coach, walking other people through their awakening process, and just bringing that, for those of us who have a heart for helping people, that's a very clear trajectory that many of us are called to. Like, mentorship is a tale as old as time. I'm a few steps further than you on the path, so I can support you where you are, right? I can be a compassionate witness, and we need that in our human journey. And just that invitation of like, you may have thought, oh, one day I'm gonna go be a coach. One day I'm gonna have this brand that looks a certain way, and God, I need you to go be a beekeeper over here, and that's what you've actually wanted to do your entire life, but you just didn't think you, right? Or like, you're an awesome mom or dad, and like you're like that, like be in your home, like receive that is that being of service to your family and creating a beautiful life and spending time in nature, like that of equal value from a leadership perspective. And that is an equally noble realm in which to work with God to figure out how you're going to be provided for in a way that doesn't feel like sacrificing your essence, right? There's people on here who, like, I'm just feeling the physicality of this realm, and the roles that we all need each to play in order to be this like functioning ecosystem moving into like deeper Aquarian activation. Pluto, we'll see what that last hurrah for Pluto and Capricorn is over the next few months before it moves into Aquarius. God be with us all. And the Aquarian energy, like, it either, like, the lower frequency of it is this like dystopian nightmare of we're all active and we all like drink the same Soylent and have the same gray out, and there's 5 available jobs and we all agree on the same, like there's this like a racing of authenticity for the unity, but really called into is this like unity in diversity. And I think there's so much more nuance to us that we've yet to fully even uncover. And so I all to like give that permission slip, or just express that here, that next level of leadership, if you're really on this path, almost certainly will not look like what we taught it is. And also that differentiation allows us to really honor those who are truly called to be a certain kind of public facing leader, because that is its own, I mean, there's rewards to that path, and it is also extremely challenging. And we need people of all types.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So that's the
Yes.
first call to bring through. And there's one other. Is there where I
Nope.
hit that one? Okay.
Nope. That was beautiful.
We were talking about surrender and sacrifice. I was just feeling the waves of chaos that are going to continue to hit this planet. Like when I tune into 2023, it's like the us, you individually in the fetal position, purging out distortion and letting things, is the fractal of the collective being bottomed out of attachment to systems that are literally like decaying. With, like, I keep getting the image of trying to like resuscitate something that's like it's over. Like there's a way of doing things and being that is just, we can't like Frankenstein reanimate it anymore. And so as leaders, we're being given the gift of like a very conscious experience of this process. And there's a lot of service in finding that still point, finding that steadiness, and trusting the process of the surrender that we're moving through. And I just feel a lot of folks who may be tuning into this are meant to be that kind of lighthouse, or that like the tree that doesn't go down in the storm, who understand how to live this medicine of the old die so that the new can be reborn, because we're going to be seeing that on a much higher level. That's going to be the collective cry of, why is this happening to me? Things that worse, I can't see a way out. And those of us who maybe we can't even see a way out, but we know that one is wanting to be expressed and pathway through. I when I feel into 2023, that feels like an important piece to remind folks of.
What was coming through towards the tail end of what you were saying was the saying, like, if there's a will, there's a way. And I genuinely feel that there have been multiple moments this year where the rock has met the bottom. And I have genuinely had, similarly to you, like, there are no potential tunnels that I can try to contort my way out of to continue to maintain this illusion that ultimately was not meant to come with me in 2023. And in those moments, it's the thread of God that keeps us connected. It's like, my faith has to be the single most unfuckwithable aspect of me, and maybe for you as well. Like, faith has been the only thing that has got me through some of, undoubtedly, the hardest moments of my life that have come through in 2022. I believe this year has been the hardest year for many of us as light workers. And I think a lot of us are hoping and praying, not expecting, but hoping and praying that 2023 will have some form of karmic reward for all of the things that we have opened ourselves up to move through. And I encourage everyone who feels resonance with that to allow the reward to look different than your expectation, because the truth is, you being alive right now is genuinely the greatest reward, because it means that you still have a place to serve something greater than yourself. It's like, oh my God, I'm alive. Oh my God, I'm alive today. That must mean that there's a purpose for me. Thank you, God. Even though maybe I feel like everything around me is dead, I am alive. And that means that there is a reason that I'm here.
Amen. Yeah. And 2022, as like that, I've heard that a lot, and I have said that, like, this is the hardest year that I can remember since like maybe a few, like, just, underwater in like the murkiness of the early years of my life, but on this conscious path of co-creating with God and choosing what we're choosing, 2022 has been just beyond challenge. And I feel that beautiful invitation of the renewal that's always available, saying like, yo, God, like what's the next act in this story? And in my sovereignty, within my free will, within my desire and my authenticity and my choice, like, here's what I choose. And a lot of us, what we're going to say if we're asked that question of what do you choose, it's a lot less this exact dollar amount and these and this many people, blah, blah, blah. It's like peace, peace, like, love, right?
Yep.
Nourished,
Yep.
feeling fully rehydrated, my vision.
I crossed a really important milestone in my business yesterday.
I saw that. I honor you deeply.
Thank you. And yet it is accompanying so much grief and duality. This was accompanying a day where we were waiting to hear results about my beloved's health. This is also in moments where my health over the last year has been so compromised that Hayden is great. Thank you for asking. That my health I've really kept very private because I haven't understood what was happening in my body. This was also a year that I learned that I was being attacked by dark energies for all of 2022, and I just caught my soul before I lost all of the reasons why. And I cross this $1 million in my business and I'm like, what?
Divine time.
Wow.
God
That,
really wanted to pause there.
and it was the time limit of my phone for the day. I have like a 2-hour screen time. And I feel like that just amplifies it. Like we think that what we want is this like monetary thing. But when that monetary thing aligns, the truth is it usually one accompanies so much duality that it's like I put it on a pedestal and it's not. And the second thing is like there's so much pride in who I've become this year that I'm just thankful that I've got food on my table and I made it. It's like I'm just thankful I've got food, I've got love, I've got connection, I've got God. Like the things that people think are attached to this monetary thing don't feel equally as wealthy as the moment that my golden retriever gives me no personal space and my partner says good morning to me and I'm like, can you please brush your teeth? Like those moments of like hilarious wealth that are truly free is literally that's the duality of like you put so much on a pedestal and the truth is it doesn't carry the same amount of freedom and wealth as like the simplest of things. I feel so rich in the things that are free. And then I just get to accompany this milestone in my business that only has as much meaning as I give it.
It's beautiful. And I agree. It's like the simplicity, like there's always, in my experience, like there's always layers of stuff that we're working on and that we're hoping for is going to change. And I've had a practice of sort of looking around and being like, what's the context in which I'm grappling with this problem? Like, there's not to be in the fetal position, right? Not a bad, wonderful human being to be moving through this with, right? Like, just really having that the gratitude for the web of life that is supporting us.
Yep. I feel really in the 0 point right now. Like I don't have a single piece that I want to add into this energy. I personally feel quite complete. Is there anything that you feel?
Looking out at the tree here and just enjoying this moment, feeling a lot of gratitude. I'll say with maximum brevity that if there's anyone who's resonating with this process of change, who feels alone and wants to like, because we're all walking through this journey completely by ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, we don't own. And my beloved and I have this journey that we're taking people through in January passage that is the fruit of the many 2022 and the many deaths of the many years of us on the divine path. That's about walking through these thresholds from death to the last temptation, to the rebirth. I just felt called to share that, so that if there's anyone here who's like, I want to go deeper on this with me in particular, that's the option that we have right now. And it's a small group, it's by application only, so we're really curating, like, I just saw the image of the Fellowship of the Ring. It's like who we surround ourselves with right now means so much, right? Because not everybody is asking these questions. Not everybody is on the position for the same reason, right? Not everybody is like, purify me, God, like strip from every cell in my being and iota of distortion so that I can know and be the truth. Like, not everybody there. And so I feel I do a lot of one-on-one work, but I've been this next season of life, if we think about what's coming in 2023, the inner circle has gotten very pared down, but I do feel these deeper invitations for relishing when we can walk with others, knowing that so much of this is on our own. So I felt called for that invitation. And with that, and if you're, everybody knows how Instagram works. Link in my bio, go to my profile.
Press the button.
So with that, I just feel, like you said, like that 0 point, just that place of gratitude and really just asking God to integrate here into our beings, that if we've had a realization, something, that it really land, and asking that all those who are asking questions that were spoken to here, that whether it's through us or somewhere else, that the answers that they seek find them, and really just praying for grace over all of our, as we wrap up this year and head into the next one.
Amen. Amen. I have so much love for you, and I'm so glad that the timing was just so soul nourishing. I have utmost respect for you and your beloved and your relationship and your journey. And I know for certain that this is definitely not the last time that Aaron Rose and I come on to do a live with you all, but we may have it in a different setting, in a different timing, with definitely some different conversations. So thank you, Aaron, so much for your time and your energy and your heart. I'm wishing you a beautiful holiday if you do celebrate it. I'm wishing you a beautiful launch, and may all the hearts that are meant to receive it do. And yeah, I love you. Thank you.
The feeling is mutual, and yeah, what, like, genuinely, it's like, right, people at the end of lives are like, thank you so much. Like, there's things that are always said, but it's like, I feel it so deeply right now, like the potency of the resonance here, and we deeply honor, like, the radical devotion with which you're walking your path. And yeah, just praying ease and blessings. And I don't know what day your birthday is, but I know it's imminent.
It is 2 days. 2 days.
Okay, so
Thank you.
you and just celebrating your life and your choice to come here and to stay for this wild ride.
Thank you, brother. So much love for you.
Much love.
Bye.
Bye.